Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ultimate Comics Podcast. My name is Nabeel Gabriel, and I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Josh, the other host.
And this is the podcast where most of the time we end up talking about Ultimate Marvel, an imprint of Marvel Comics that began in the year 2000 to modernize and streamline, reimagine Marvel and its characters for the 21st century. But that doesn't matter right now because this is a very special episode of the show where we're talking about the recent Spider-Noir series that just released on Prime Video starring Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to share our thoughts on it, what we enjoyed about the series, just discuss it. Josh, what do you think of Spider-Noir?
I thought it was okay. Good show. It's an 8 episode long season show, and you could tell they put a lot of effort into it. A lot of the costuming is very period accurate of the 30s. They did a decent amount of research. It is confusing because I thought it was going to be based on the comics. It wasn't. It's like it possibly takes place in the Spider-Verse, where Nick Cage also plays Spider-Man Noir, but it's
Right.
Spider-Verse, that Spider-Man Noir is based out of the 40s or the 50s. This one is in the 30s, so it's a little bit, the timeline's a little jumpy, but once you ignore those things, it is like a very watchable show.
Yeah, don't worry too much over how this fits in with the Spider-Man Noir of the Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse movies, also played by, or I should say voiced by, Nicolas Cage. I wouldn't worry too much about the continuity there, but yeah, it's essentially the same or like a similar version of the character. This is like an older, a bit more like disillusioned, washed up version of Spider-Man Noir who has faced great tragedy in his life and is
Yeah.
now like trying to leave it all behind.
As all Spider-Men do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a classic Spider-Man story, I think. Like, tale as old as time. You kind of give your all and you do your best, and life comes at you pretty hard, and you face all sorts of trials and tribulations, and you kind of wonder if you should just give it all up and you should just get rid of that responsibility altogether because of, like, the burden it's placed on you.
Yeah.
Before ultimately really realizing, like, you have to, like, be selfless despite the difficulty that it puts on you in your life and actually like stand up and be the hero, which in a nutshell is really what this show is about. But it also happens to be a very classic tribute to a very classic noir film genre from the 40s and 50s style movies. Nick Cage is very much embodies like the Humphrey Bogart, like noir detective. I think it hits a lot of those similar beats to those movies in terms of like the mystery that kind of unravels throughout the show, I should say, throughout these 8 episodes, just like an old noir movie, and all the character archetypes and tropes that you face throughout the story. So it was very enjoyable for that. I think honestly, just overall, it was cool because it didn't necessarily feel like a comic book series or a superhero series or a piece of superhero slash comic book media. It very much felt like its own thing. I think similar to like we talked about Wonder Man that came out earlier this year, which also didn't feel too much honestly like a comic book property. It felt more like its own thing that was more of like a character drama about a man who just really wanted to be an actor despite the difficulties in his own life and his past and struggling with his own powers. That seemed to be more about that. And similarly, this isn't so much about Spider-Man Noir, or the Spider as they call him in the show. It's about Ben Reilly, the hard-boiled PI with the tragic past, facing this mystery that kind of unravels over the course of the show.
Yeah, I think with Wonder Man, if you take out the Marvel stuff from Wonder Man, you can still have a decent movie. It's a little harder with this, but like it's just so different and disconnected from any other comic property that like it is very much its own thing. And it's also interesting because Nick Cage isn't a great actor. Like everyone loves Nick Cage, but he is an actor. If you make him do a comic character, he will just put his heart and soul into it because he loves the comics.
Yes.
Here, he puts his heart and soul. He tries his best, but like it's just such a different character that like you don't get Nick Cage playing a comic character. You just get Nick Cage playing a hard-boiled detective in his own like goofy way. He going all out, talking like rah rah rah. Like
yeah, he does say in a lot of interviews, Nick Cage, that he did base his performance on a lot of old style hard-boiled detective like actors like Humphrey Bogart or James Cagney, and I think Nick Cage does a fantastic job in this series. He really gives it his all. And I think what's really funny too is he kind of starts out a little bit more subdued, more like classic PI noir detective. But I think as the series goes on, I don't know if you noticed this, Josh, like as it went on, for me, I tended to notice they like let him get more and more unhinged.
Nick Cage.
Like, yeah, exactly. Get more Nick Cage with it and just weird and over the top as the series went on. And that
Oh
was
yeah.
very fun to see him like unraveling as the series continued.
Spoilers ahead, but like Spider-Man Noir is very different from Spider-Man. This Spider-Man Noir is also different from Spider-Man Noir. But like
Yes.
they literally do a thing where like he goes like, I had to relearn how to be human because I have arachnid DNA. So I watched all
Yeah.
the movies, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, halfway, and he just gets weird. And halfway through, I was like, I expected him to grab a cat and just like bite into it like a spider.
Yeah. He really took that very seriously. That assignment he understood was like, I'm gonna act very spider-like and like a spider trying to be a man, I guess. There's so many moments when I'm like, yeah, he's just going all out on it. I should also say spoilers for I'm gonna put it in the description, but spoilers if you haven't seen the Spider Noir series, obviously. But we're gonna be talking in full detail about the show. So watch the show and come back and listen if you haven't seen it, or if you don't care, continue to listen. You do what you want. But there's the montage when he reveals to his secretary, Janet, that he's the spider, and she's like, yeah, I've known for a while. Because then it comes to this montage of him getting drunk in his office and like just putting his like parts of his outfit on and going like, I'm the spider, and like crawling on the wall and doing all these goofy movements. And that was
Yeah.
very unhinged Nick Cage. And it's also very much like he is playing this role of like, I'm very spidery with his movements and his limbs and like how he like acts.
Yeah.
Just very out there and all over the place.
Yeah. I've also noticed that when he puts on his mask, his voice changes a bit. Like it just
Yes.
gets murkier, and I'm like, is that Nick Cage or is it like some kind of voice changer? Because like he sounds in a way that I'm like I know there's a thing where like, can you tell Clark Kent Superman? And I'm like, I don't know, but I feel I could tell if the Spider is Nick Cage because they sound a very particular way.
Yeah,
Wrong,
that's
wrong, wrong.
true.
Yeah.
But I honestly thought like his demeanor and his attitude did shift when he put on the costume. Well, what I think was really interesting about this series is you rarely see him wearing like the spider outfit. I think for a few reasons. I think story-wise it makes sense because this is a version of the character that has kind of like put it behind him and is trying to like lock it away. So you don't see him like become the spider as often. I also think, since it's an 8 episode show and they're like 45-minute episodes, I think it would be very rough on Nick Cage to just constantly be in that outfit.
Yeah, as
Um,
a kid, I didn't know this, but there are reasons characters are rarely their superhero costumes is because the costumes themselves are very difficult to put on, and they're
yeah.
very claustrophobic and uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, I get it. But also, I think it's cool because that also adds to the element of like, oh, this is mainly a show about Ben Riley, like the hard boiled PI. It's not so much about the spider. It's not really a superhero or property,
Yeah,
honestly. It's more like a film noir.
or like a attempt to replicate it. I feel.
Yeah, but I think what's interesting when he does put on the outfit, he gets very quippy and very like Spider-Man esque when he becomes the spider. He becomes more like of a different character, much the same way that like most of the time when Peter Parker puts on the Spider-Man outfit, he gets to be a little looser and goofier and more confident and like quippier. And that's kind of a nice little detail and touch I liked about Nick Cage's performance here and the writing on that too.
When he was Spider-Man, I always felt like, oh, he's sassy in a way, like more than quippy, he's sassy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I felt that here too. He was very sassy when he dressed up those few times.
I will say so. The difference between Spider-Man Noir in the comics and regular Spider-Man is Spider-Man Noir will kill. Is not
Yes.
afraid to kill. Like, and I don't mean like if I have to kill you, I will. But I don't want to like. He will just shoot people and go like.
Yeah,
It's not with
that's
great
true.
power comes great responsibility. It's like with great power, if you don't use it, we have the right to remove you as a population or
Yeah.
something.
He's like, if I have to take you out, I will. And that's very true in the show too. He will kill if he has to. He has no qualms about that.
He threatens to kill people, and I've never. I don't. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he doesn't use a gun. But he definitely uses people as human shields against bullets.
Yeah, that might be part of the reason why they chose the name Ben Riley to go with more than Peter Parker, because I think maybe they wanted to indicate that this was like a different take on the character and they wanted to distance him from that. Like he's not the same as like your classic Peter Parker Spider-Man.
But it's revealed at the end that like it is his real name is most likely Peter Parker.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like when he's talking to one of the guys who was the POWs during the war when he was like saved all those prisoners, the guy was like, "Oh, you changed your name." And they don't say explicitly that his name was Peter Parker, but we can tell his name is Peter Parker. He's just going by the name Ben Riley. And I remember there was like a big controversy when like the first announcement was made and like the poster came out and it showed the door and it said Ben Reilly and everyone's like, wait, what? It's not Peter Parker? They were like, what's going on? And the creators originally commented like, yeah, like Peter Parker's more associated with this young, innocent high school character or whatever. And a lot of people were like, that's the problem with Spider-Man media. They're constantly showing Peter Parker in high school rather than like a college age or like a grown-up, mature Peter Parker. And I'm like, hey guys, hold up. I agree with you, but like I'm pretty sure even back then I was like, I'm pretty sure this is an alias he's using. He's just going by Ben Reilly. And he was. But I think yeah, just one more thing about Nick Cage's performance is like there are also times earlier on in the series, like when he's going undercover and playing roles, like when he acts like he's the union officer for the police.
Benevolent Association. Technically, the NYPD is not allowed to have a union, so it's called the Benevolent Association. And the one he does is the real police union for the NYPD, the Benevolent Association. Legal difference, in case someone from the NYPD is listening.
Thank you for the clarification, Josh. Wouldn't want to get in trouble with the NYPD.
Some of us live in that city.
Yeah, or are going to.
I mean, we don't need them to know my exact moving address and timeline. Right. Yeah.
Of course not. But yeah, when he's playing roles like that union officer, when he's acting like he's an inspector for the apartment, or when he's acting like he's a mental patient, Nick Cage does these really fun, hammy, over-the-top roles that I think are just so entertaining to see. So he just gives his all for this role. And this would not work if Nick Cage was not, A, attached to it, and B, also just not having a good time and like really putting his all into this role. So that really like makes it for me personally.
Among other things, I really do like Nick Cage because he's such a big comic fan. So like, and this one, and I don't think this is a negative, it's like a positive anything. Like they built this character around Nick Cage's goofiness, which is really interesting. I will say, and you disagree with me because we talked about this earlier, Ben Reilly's kind of useless as a detective. Most of the investigation is done by like Robbie or Janet, in my opinion. So like,
he is kind of like a goofball, and maybe he is a little off his game because he's a little rusty and his heart isn't quite in it, but he's good at what he does. Several times throughout the show, people point that out, and he does good detective work. He does note that Janet, his secretary, is a better detective than him, and that's kind of part of the reason why it ends with her name on the door with him, too. We'll get into her character more, but like,
other characters noted too, because they keep trying to go like, do you want a job as a reporter? And they're like, we would rather have you in the police.
Yeah. But he's not a bad detective at the end of the day still. But one of the things I wanted to discuss was how David Hine, one of the co-creators of Spider-Man Noir, like the writer of the original comics, he gave his thoughts on the series, which I thought would be interesting to discuss.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like what you were saying, Josh, where this isn't really based on the original comics as much as it is based on the version of Spider-Man Noir that was in the Into the Spider-Verse movies. So he was like, yeah, if he expected this to be based on the original comics, he said he would be disappointed, but he does have a good outlook on it, saying it's not a bad thing if this series draws people to the original comics, because they fought to publish those to begin with. I think he's mentioned that they really had to push for Spider-Man Noir.
Which Marvel's really happy about now, I bet.
Yeah, they're pretty happy about that now, aren't they? With the success of the Spider-Verse movies and now the Spider-Noir series. So that's just a plug. I've read the original comics. You've read like most of the Noir universe, the Marvel Noir stuff, Josh.
Not most, but I'm getting through them because they're all on Marvel now. If Marvel ever wants, Disney and Marvel want to, advertise for us, but...
You mean Marvel Unlimited?
Oh, sorry, Marvel Unlimited. If Marvel and DC or Disney want to advertise, we're okay with it. Just you guys have our email, but No, as a kid, I read some of it, but I read all of Spider-Man Noir in high school and then reread it in college. And recently, I believe they've made a few more because he dies in Spider-Verse and then he comes back. And there's a difference. Spider-Man Noir, the comic, is a lot more political, not in like the goofy way the Ultimate Avengers are. It is like a lot more 30s era radical political.
Yeah, and David Hine does mention this when he talks about his thoughts, is like he kind of wishes the show went a little further politically, because like you're saying, Josh, the comics went really hard left. Peter and Aunt May and the Spider-Man Noir comics originally, they were communists.
No, they were socialists.
He said communists. He wrote the comic.
Oh, he literally, in his comic, they vote for FDR.
Anyways, so they were left-leaning.
Yes.
let's say socialists. They were very radical leftists, which I know will trigger certain people if they listen to this, but they touch on a lot of political stuff in the original comics. They're socialists, and they also make references to like the Friends of New Germany and like the
Yeah.
rise of Nazism in the US around that time, because this was
They,
like Depression era, 1930s.
it touches on like homeless, like so does the show a bit, but they talk about like homeless vets after World War I. They talk
Yeah.
about African American discrimination towards like minority groups and like people with disabilities in the 30s,
Yeah.
eugenics, like the rising anti, like they touch like any like political thing in the 30s, they like at least lightly touch on in the comics, which is really
Yeah,
interesting.
and the
Yeah.
show doesn't really go there in the way that the comics do. Like, there are moments, especially with the character of Robbie and
Yeah.
like his connection with Tombstone, like just talking about like treatment of like African Americans at the time.
Lots of talk. There's also lots of hints about how veterans were really mistreated, especially veterans of color were mistreated after World
Yes,
War
that's
One.
also true. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
which was a big theme in like 30s politics. Was like, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. But it
yeah,
doesn't go as hard as in the comics. So, to all those listening who haven't read the original Spider-Man Noir comics, I've read the first miniseries, and I know you've read the sequel,
yeah,
Eyes Without a Face, also written by David Hine.
yeah. That's the one with the Nazis, which is where Nick Cage Spider-Man in Spider-Verse says, "I've been fighting Nazis for FDR now."
Yeah, like I like to drink egg creams and fight Nazis. So, yeah, highly recommended for those. Like, just go back and read those comics, or like, I'm sure, I don't know if the like actual trade paperback is out of print, but if it's
Oh,
back in print, go pick it up at your local comic book store.
every comic store I've been to has at least one poster. I have a feeling they reprint it all the time, especially after Spider-Verse. And yeah,
Yeah, I'd have to double check on that. But if you can't find it, it is on Marvel Unlimited. But show your support. Go to your local
yeah.
comic book store if it's out there.
Yeah, Marvel's like the one business Disney owns that doesn't make money, if you
Yeah,
don't count the MCU.
and it would be nice just to support the original creators somehow.
Do they get money if you buy their stuff?
I think there's like royalties or, residuals.
Yeah.
Anyways, but David Hine also says a lot more about the show, saying like it's more noir than the original comics, even though it like retains like the pulp roots of the Spider-Man Noir comics. Like, it does play out more like a noir film, because I feel like that's very intentionally what they were leaning towards.
Yeah.
Was that like original like Humphrey Bogart like noir detective movie. But David Hine, like us, praised Nick Cage for a lot of things, like the humor in his performance and his movements generally, like what we were talking about how spidery his movements were. And he said like Spider-Man hasn't really been this spidery since Steve Ditko first illustrated him, which is high praise.
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
that's pretty good.
There's a scene. Spoilers where when Nick Cage first gets his powers. Yeah, that's the
Mm-hmm.
other thing with Nick Cage is like you don't think of him as you think of him as Nick Cage, but he gets up because the army's going like, "Hey, what's up with you? We put you in the hospital," and he can't salute the general because his like spider, like he literally moves his arms like a spider,
Yeah, exactly.
like from
Like,
Thriller.
yeah, yeah, exactly, like the Thriller dance. For
Yeah.
those fans of Michael Jackson or 13 going on 30, honestly.
Well, that's a great movie.
It is. We should
Yeah.
talk about that one day, although it's not comic related at all. I can only think of Jennifer Garner as the connection because she is Elektra. Anyways,
Yeah, and she was in Deadpool.
she was, yeah, as Elektra
Yeah.
once again.
Yeah. There's also who's the other? The other. There's Andy
Mark
Serkis.
Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo,
And
Andy
Andy
Serkis,
Serkis, yeah.
and Judy
Oh
Greer.
my gosh.
And
Yeah.
Judy Greer.
Yeah, plays Ant-Man's ex-wife.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. I was just thinking because she's in like voice acting all the time now. But
That's true, yeah.
yeah.
But anyways, the last couple of comments of co-creator of Spider-Man Noir, he wasn't really a fan of like the web swinging in the
Yeah.
show, where he said like Nick Cage looks like a clumsy, stiff-limbed old man. But I think that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
So,
And also, like, with Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, you get the sense, like, these are, like, their bodies have changed to become Spider-Man. With Nick Cage, even though they changed, they said, like, oh, he's very Spider-like in the beginning, they
yeah.
kind of go, like, no, he very much is, like, what if you gave middle-aged Nick Cage spider powers? How would he act?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not going to
like,
be great at swing.
Yeah, he's not going to be a total pro. Like, he's kind of lost a step or two. Or
Yeah.
a swing or two, if you
Uh-huh.
pardon the pun. Yeah.
Though I have a feeling in 6-1, the comics, Spider-Man Noir's powers are a bit different. Like I forgot, Spider-Man Noir, he gets his powers from a spider goddess.
Yeah, there's definitely more mystical, supernatural elements than the scientific ones in the show.
Yeah, girl power too. But
yeah,
But
Yes, Queen.
Spider-Man Noir, his powers are slightly different from the other Spider-Man. And if you ever play the Spider-Man video game, they mention it where Adam Webb says like we've had to augment Spider-Man Noir's power so he could
Yeah.
fight other villains from other universes. But like he can't swing as well in the original comics because his webs are more spider-like and they spray.
Yeah, they're not like the one single strand, like generally where he can swing off of his webs, like in the main comics. The original
Yeah.
Spider-Man Noir comics, they just like spray everywhere, so he doesn't really web swing.
Yeah.
And the last thing that David Hines says is that, yeah, he also praises a lot of performances of the cast, like Karen Rodriguez, who plays Janet, the secretary, Brendan Gleeson, who plays the main villain, Silvermane, and Lee Jun Lee, who plays Kat Hardy, who we will talk about soon, but is basically Felicia Hardy. The fact
Yeah.
that they made her first name Kat, I'm going to get to in a second, but I think that's dumb.
I think it's such a shame because I love Felicia Hardy in the Noir verse, but yeah.
But yeah, overall, I just love like the premise of this show is what I like. Just like the classic, like he's an older guy, he's a bit past his prime, he's got a tragic past to him, and you know somehow it all ties back to the war. Is how the
Yeah.
Noir series it's all just goes back to the war, and there's like a juicy mystery that pulls him in and unravels as time goes on. And you know, you've got the femme fatale, you've got the girl Friday, you've got the persistent reporter, you've got the classic mob boss.
You get the abused secretary.
Yeah,
You get the
exactly.
loyal but abused secretary.
Which is the girl Friday.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, she's just got his back at all times and has whatever he needs.
Yeah.
Also known as the loyal but abused secretary, because she like is talking about how like she needs to get paid, and she's like, "Your business is not going well. Like, how are you going to pay me?"
Yeah, and my husband's unemployed, and I have a kid because
Yeah, like I got a family to support. This is the Great Depression, man. But at its core, what I like is just generally, I think I mentioned this earlier, just this is a Spider-Man story quintessentially.
Yeah.
Not only is it a tribute to noir films, but what I got from this series was just how classic of a Spider-Man story it is. It's just a guy weighed down by how difficult his life has become, especially since becoming Spider-Man. He just feels like he doesn't want to do it anymore. He even has that line where he wants to like take away his powers briefly when they have that cure for the abilities that he ends up giving like all the other guys whose powers are unstable. He says that line, with no power comes no responsibility. He just doesn't want to deal with it anymore. And that's just very classic Spider-Man. You just feel overwhelmed by the world and by the responsibility you have and all the hits you keep taking. And ultimately, he just gets back into it because he's Spider-Man and it's the right thing to do. Or he's the spider in this.
And it's because he's a good person. And it's Spider-Man because he's a good person, not because he has powers, which has always been the thing with Peter Parker, is that he gets his powers and it's like there's a good Robert Carroll quote, power doesn't corrupt you. It just makes you who you are deep down, reveal itself. And
yes, exactly.
with Ben Reilly, we saw that when in World War I, he volunteers specifically to save POWs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in a racist time, he knows a lot of them are black or people of color, and he risks his life anyway.
Yeah, and that's another nice thing about this character is even though he exists of this time, he is not exactly a man of his time. Luckily, like, I could point to one or two instances of, like, yeah, I could argue, I guess, of, like, a couple cases of misogyny, but for the most part, he's not, like, a virulent racist or rabid, like, misogynist. So at least they tone back down.
Hypocritical if he was, because, you know, he's, like, more spider than man at this point.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How can you discriminate against other races when you yourself have basically another species inside of you? You know what it's like to be different, Ben. Don't look down on this guy because he's black.
You're Spider. He's more human than you are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe put things in perspective. But I think this has a lot of really good spins on classic Spider-Man villains too. You got Silvermane, you got Tombstone, Sandman. For some reason, they included Megawatt too, but whatever.
I always wonder where, like, some of these, unless they're, like, super fans, because some of them are, I don't know where they pull some of these obscure villains out. Like, when Arrow pulled out that Marvel villain accidentally for the last season.
Scimitar.
I know diehard Marvel fans that would not have known who Scimitar is. I don't know where you guys found him.
Yeah, they tried to pass him off as a DC character. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Marvel just ignored.
I think a lot of people were like, when they looked at Megawatt, they're like, is this Electro? Like, is this just
I thought it was Electro.
Noir? And I looked it up and like Megawatt is a Marvel villain. He's like a very obscure Marvel villain, but he exists and he's got similar
Yeah.
powers and like he also is like an actor in the Marvel universe, a lot like Megawatt in Noir, who like quotes a lot of theater and is very theatrical and is like citing Shakespeare and stuff. So
It's a tale told by an idiot.
yeah. So it's fun. For the most part, classic Spider-Man villains plus Megawatt, I guess,
Yeah.
but it's fun. They kind of
I
have their own like Sinister Six thing going on, except obviously there's not that many of them.
yeah. They have Silvermane, which is like I think the first time we ever saw Silvermane outside of animation and the original comics, I believe.
Yeah, I can't really think of any live action version of Silvermane other than this, honestly. I think this is the first real live action depiction of
I wonder why
Silvermane.
they just didn't go with Kingpin because I feel like you got Brendan Gleeson to play him. I'm like,
I mean, like, I feel like people have gotten enough of Kingpin through, like, the Daredevil series. Like, I think it's good that they did something different. They didn't go Wilson Fisk. I mean, even now, after 3 seasons of Daredevil and 2 seasons of Daredevil Born Again, people are kind of sick of Wilson Fisk now, as much as they think Vincent D'Onofrio did a great job and how compelling of a villain he was. I think they're kind of done with it. I feel like he's already been the main villain for, like, 4 out of 5 seasons of Daredevil, so
yeah, because it's the New York villain. He's also the main villain in Hawkeye. Don't forget.
yeah, kinda. Like he barely is in it, but yeah, ultimately he is the big bad of Hawkeye if you look at it that way. He's in like
Yeah,
1 episode.
2 episodes.
He's in a picture in like the last second of the second to last episode. He's
um,
barely there. But
he's killed.
Silvermane's cool cuz to include cuz like there's so many other mob bosses in New York. Yeah, like Kingpin is the coolest, but you've got Silvermane. You've got Tombstone who you include here.
He runs the city in this show, so why not just make him Kingpin? You had a big
I
guy to play him.
I mean, let's just give some smaller villains the spotlight for a change here, all right? I think
All right.
Silvermane was a great choice, and I
He
think
gets.
Brendan Gleeson did a fantastic job as the villain here. Every scene he was in, my eyes were glued to that screen.
Yeah, he's an Oscar-winning actor.
Yeah, no, exactly. Brendan Gleeson, like, he can't miss. And
Yeah,
just like Nick Cage, he just puts his all into that performance.
yeah.
And I think he is the perfect like villain for a noir series like this. Just like go with your classic like mob boss.
I like you don't even have to change his accent because this is when like the mafia bosses were all still have their old immigrant accents. He has like this
Yeah,
Irish accent still, so that's cool.
yeah, exactly.
He gets killed by Felicia Hardy too.
Cat Hardy.
Cat Hardy.
Because
We all know it's Felicia.
Felicia Hardy is Black Cat in the comics. I don't know why they don't just call her Felicia in this show. I don't know why they had to change her name to Cat. That's dumb if you ask me. That's
Yeah,
stupid. Why would you
yeah.
do that?
Uh,
Or like have her nickname be the Cat or Black Cat or something. Making Cat
the
her first name is stupid.
in the Noir comics, I believe she's Felicia Hardy, but she runs the Black Cat Club.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
And so she's close to the comics version, but not quite. She's just like a singer at the club here who works
yeah,
for Silvermane.
yeah,
I like her character's struggle of like not wanting anyone to control her. She feels like throughout the series, everyone is trying to tell her what to do or like put her in a certain box or like move her around someplace, like especially Silvermane, but then also to a certain degree with Flint Marko, the Sandman, and then Ben Riley. Everyone's trying to tell her who to be or where to go or what to do. And
yeah,
I like that she is the one to kill Silvermane at the end. And that like kind of gives her that power and that agency of like freeing herself in a sense, which
yeah.
is really cool. I like that last line that Silvermane has where he's like, I was hoping it would be you, dear. And he just goes out like a classy motherfucker, you know?
He's a classy guy.
Yeah, he's very classy. I mean, he's always like in every scene, he's very calm, he's very calculated for the most part. Most scenes, not every scene. Sometimes you do get to see that anger come out, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
They say he treats his workers well. Cat Hardy says like he never was rapey towards me. He gets off only on power, which you have to kind of respect.
Yeah, kind of. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
But
he treats his workers well. And he's not a rapey guy.
oh my gosh, here you go defending another mob boss. This is like when we talked about the Kingpin in Ultimate Spider-Man. You're like, oh, he supports local businesses. Look at the pizza he got from his local pizza place. Now you're like, oh, Silvermane, he treats his workers well.
He does. And during the Great Depression, you'd love to work for this guy.
Yeah, really, as long as I didn't disappoint him, I'm sure. Because if you disappoint him or betray him any like he shoots people and like you saw at the end of the third episode, he just shoots the guy he thinks he betrayed him and like
Winslow,
threw him in a
right?
grave. Yeah, and then
Well,
he's
that
just
guy was
like
betraying him, he
he
thought.
thought that's not the case though. That guy was set up and then he just shot another guy right after that.
By Ben Riley, too.
Yeah, he was set up.
Um,
Poor Winston.
yeah. Cat Hardy is played by Lee Jun Lee, who I did not know, but apparently was in Quantico and was the Asian girl, the Chinese lady in Sinners.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow. I
Yeah.
only saw Sinners the one time, so totally passed over my head.
Yeah. I mean, she looks completely different in this one. Like, she sings. I kind of want to like Felicia Hardy from the Noir series, but this is a different character. This is a very different take. I did think she's a bit of a horn cat because like she kind of just jumps from man to man. She goes, "I'll never fall in love again." And then I met Flint, and the instant she thinks Flint's gone for a second, she gets with Ben Riley, then back with Flint, and Ben doesn't even know she's getting back with Flint.
Yeah, and Flint does call her out on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He's like, as soon as you thought I was dead, you just jumped into the arms of Ben Riley.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's rough.
And before Ben Riley figures out you're back with Flint, you don't even tell him, so.
She's kind of, I mean, she is, like I was saying earlier, that classic femme fatale trope. You never know whose side she's on or what she's going to do next or who she's playing. I think that makes it very fun. And I think that's what makes the series very fun too, is it plays into that noir trope of like everyone's got their own agenda and everyone is playing like pretty much everyone else. You don't really know who to trust.
Yeah. Felicia Hardy in the Noir comics is also kind of a horn cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like she and Peter in the Noir comics are like an item for a while, is the thing.
She was Peter's mentor's girlfriend, and the instant Ben Urich is out of the picture for a bit, she gets together with Peter, even though Peter's like 17 in the comics.
Yeah, she's a cougar.
Yeah, and she's only really into Peter when she sees the darkness in him from the Spider God.
There's issues there. There's serious issues.
Yeah, and also the instant they're done doing the deed, he goes like, "Will you marry me?" She goes, "No, I'm not the type of girl you bring to your aunt. I'm the type of girl after you get married and bring her to your aunt, you go have fun with me for an affair as the Spider." And I'm like, whoa.
Hey, at least she's honest.
Yeah. She's also the one Asian character in the show, which is really interesting because like Asian Americans at the time went through a lot of discrimination. They just no one brings that up. That like here's a person of color that everyone's fighting over in a time of like segregation. So.
Yeah. You wish they would have delved more into the discrimination?
They didn't have to, except they talked about every other, well, not every other. They talked about like segregation that existed in New York City. I'm like, so you touched it, but you're gonna ignore this other elephant in the room?
Yeah, you might want to dive a little deeper into that, especially if she is like very prominent in the New York nightclub scene.
Yeah, especially because in the 30s and 20s is when like a lot of taboo, what was then taboo is now like a bit more normal stuff, was in New York City, was coming into the forefront. Like gay clubs, lesbian clubs were finally like people were beginning to know them. Speakeasies, because prohibition wasn't over yet. We got the first clubs in New York City and Chicago that were interracial. White people and white fans were showing up to black clubs for the first time. It was a time when like these what was once taboo and what is to us now normal were kind of melting a bit. So it's nice to see it, and it would be nice if they touched on that.
Yeah, no, I agree there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what David Hein was saying, like he wished they delved a little bit more into how left-leaning the comic was. They don't really go into some of the political or social commentary as much as you would like to.
Yeah, and Robbie is in the show, and it's interesting because Peter Parker's so much older, and I feel Robbie in the comics is usually way older than Peter, but it's reversed in this one.
Yeah, the roles are reversed. We got Joe Robertson, played by Lamorne Morris, aka Winston from New Girl.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Because Nick is the other Spider. It's Peter B.
Parker, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Jake Johnson voicing Peter B. Parker, aka Nick. They're really collecting New Girl alumni, but I thought Lamorne Morris did a great job as Robbie here. And you're right, I didn't even think about like the ages are kind of reversed where like their Peter Parker, or Ben Riley I should say, is older than Robbie. Yeah. But Robbie is also, I think, plays such a good role in this series. I just love how he's like the guy kind of pushing the story forward and driving Ben into action again.
Doing a lot of the actual detective work too.
Yeah, you get to see him doing a lot of like investigative journalism, which is really cool to see, seeing him do his own investigation. And and also just see him like giving Ben like the kick in the ass he needs in the right moments to be like, hey, this city is suffering and all this terrible stuff is happening. You got to do something about this because I know you can, and like I know you've done it before.
He kind of is like, not that there's inherently a bad angel in the story. He's like the good angel on Peter's shoulder, going like, well, Uncle Ben used to go, going like, you got to do the right thing, like Ben.
Yeah.
You gotta like, yeah, you have the cure, because and you go like, it'll give you a better life, but the other guys will die without this cure. Like, are you really willing to let them die and New York City suffer so you can have a
Yeah.
better life?
Yeah, he's like basically like cut the BS, like stop feeling sorry for yourself, stop being selfish,
Yeah.
help others. He gives him that conversation on like the park bench near the end of the show when
Yeah.
he's just like quit the pity and like let's actually like help people and do
Yeah.
what you were meant to do here.
Yeah, and Robbie is, like you said, the heart and soul. He's the one keeping the story going forward. His investigation into Silvermane is how we find out about that Silvermane's finding veterans to turn in that have been turned into monsters accidentally,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
And it's his connection, Robbie's connection to Tombstone, that plays a big role in this series, which is pretty cool. Because if you look at the main comics too, Robbie and Tombstone actually have more mutual animosity because they grew up together and they have a bad history. But in this, Robbie finding Tombstone and kind of connecting with him, since especially like in this time period, the two of them being like black men, I think that's vital and crucial for him to like reach out and try to get him on their side a little bit more and kind of like help him and
Yeah.
extend that olive branch. And it takes a while. It's not that immediate. And that's kind of what I like. He has to work at it, but he eventually gets there. And that's what I really like, that like sympathetic angle he goes for and that like understanding of someone else in those
Yeah.
shoes.
I also really like the way they treat the veterans in the show, where like it's a thing we talk about a lot in real life, but like not Marvel, something Marvel movies don't talk about. But like Spider-Man, and also all the characters with powers are veterans who, like, after years after World War One, have been noticing they've been developing mutations
Mm-hmm.
because they all were in the same POW camp.
Yeah, exactly.
It was revealed that like partially what happens, they were experimenting on the Germans, and they're like they have like a veterans hospital doctor who found this out, and she's trying to collect information because her own son got like this weird one where it's aging him. She wants to save his life.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
thought that was a pretty cool plot line. I think that was a good way to like tie everything together and you learn about how Ben got his powers and became the spider. You learn about how all these other guys got their powers and how
Yeah.
these metahumans came to be.
Yeah.
I thought the ending of the plot line with the doctor and her son, it was a bit unceremonious. They kind of just get blown up at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm like, GG, I guess. There goes that plot line, but whatever.
There was a scene where like the Sinister Three break into her lab and they find the body of someone they knew, and they go like, "That was our comrade. You didn't have the right to kill him."
Yeah, and that's very powerful, and I think
Yeah.
that like shows the treatment of veterans and like how the horrible things that they go through,
Oh yeah.
especially like during war when they're in like POW camps. I think the way that they examined that was done really well, and the effects that had not just on the villains but also on Ben himself too.
Yeah.
When he got first bitten by that spider and everything he had to endure during
Yeah.
his like transformation.
Especially like in the 20s and 30s, where like we now know the U.S. government did unfortunately experiment on veterans a lot.
Yeah.
And this is the 30s, so everyone's a bit poorer, a lot poorer because of the Great Depression. And
Mhm.
so the veterans did the bonus army march, where they marched on DC saying like, "Hey, can we get our pensions now?" And the U.S. government sent the army with tanks and horses to break up the bonus army march and beat the crap out of everyone. And you just get that scene like when Robbie is talking to like some random guy for information. That guy was like, "You a veteran?" He goes like, "No," and he goes like, "I fought for this country and I'm poor and homeless now."
Yeah, like here I am.
Yeah. And that was the 30s. Like, it's even worse. What people say is bad now is always worse in the 30s.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why May and Peter Parker in the original Noir comics were socialists.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that they're standing up for, is like supporting the veterans.
Yeah, because everyone's poor.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the sympathy that it lends towards most of the villains anyways, and how it like humanizes a lot of them and what they went through.
Yeah. Like Flint, you feel I feel Kat's frustration with Flint when she goes like, "We're kind of a lapdog for Silvermane. Like, you're more like you do anything for him."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's loyal is the big quality of this character, which I like. Like Sandman, Flint Marko here, he reminds me a lot of like comic Sandman, who deep down is not like a bad guy, I
Yeah.
think he's just been put in bad situations and had to deal with it. Maybe not in the best ways, but he dealt with it the only way he really knew how.
He becomes a hero for a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he was like at the end is the one to like turn on Megawatt and like stand up to him. And at the end, his loyalty is really to Kat because that's like the romance that we've never really seen before, but that drives his decisions and it drives Kat's decisions. Is this love story that's going on between
Yeah.
Flint and Kat? And it goes to show he's honorable, he's loyal, and when the chips are down, he actually will do the right thing.
Yeah.
But it takes a while for him to get there.
He does look disgusting, I will say that.
Yeah, because he's like falling apart is the thing. He's decomposing because of his powers.
Yeah.
He's just like covered in blots and patches of sand.
I forgot what Tombstone, like, I know his, like, he looks like reptilian or insectoid and is super strong, but like, did
Yeah,
they ever say like which animal they took his stuff from?
I'm not sure. Like I at first couldn't even tell that this was supposed to be Tombstone based on how like he mutated from how you described it and what I
Yeah.
saw.
I only knew it was Tombstone because his name was Lincoln, so.
Yeah, no, exactly. They called Lonnie Lincoln, and then I think
Yeah.
he does later get called Tombstone. But between like this and like the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon, I think we've been getting some really good adaptations of Tombstone recently, which is awesome.
Because Tombstone is another, like, not maybe not a sympathetic character, but a character with layers in a way.
Exactly. Like he's not all bad deep down. I think he like went through a really tough time and had a rough childhood. I mean, if we're looking at like comic book Tombstone, there is like a lot of sympathetic background to the character. And I will say, for all of the shit that I have given Zeb Wells on his Amazing Spider-Man, one of the best parts, if not the best part, is the way that he wrote Tombstone, especially in that first story arc, and kind of the sympathy that he built in for the character and the background there, and then the sympathy that Spider-Man developed for the character. So he is a really well developed and complex character.
In this one, the cops are attacking his neighborhood, so he and Sandman beat the crap out of the cops.
Yeah.
Later, during the fight, Spider-Man beats Tombstone, and the cops come to beat the crap out of Tombstone, and Spider-Man saves him from the cops, and the cops beat the crap out of Ben Reilly. So Tombstone has to save Spider-Man.
Tombstone saves him, which is great. And I love how they finally get him on their side. Like, I think Robbie was trying to do from the beginning. Because I think as much as they don't really like hit a lot of like the political or social beats that maybe they could have in this, I think they do a good job at least touching on like the discrimination and the racial focus when it comes to the character of Tombstone.
Yeah.
It's very clear in like how the cops just kind of raid his neighborhood that is primarily black.
Yeah.
And then also how the cops like start attacking him even as he's like lost his powers as like a black man, and the spider comes to his defense. So I think that's pretty well done, and especially the connection that he forms with Robbie, I think that's well done.
And with the secretary.
Yes,
because she was the one that gets him to talk by playing cards with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I love the Janet character, Janet Ruiz. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, Janet Ruiz.
Wow.
Ben's secretary.
Was it 7 years in Texas, and you couldn't pick that up?
It was 5 years, but whatever. I should still have done better.
6 years.
Janet is like the character that does a lot of the legwork. She is such a great character. I think she's got a lot of attitude to her. She's very plucky. She's got a lot of like snark, which is always fun. She's always holding Ben accountable for his shit, but with love, in like a very loving way. You can tell there's like a deep bond between those characters.
She's not the opposite of Robbie, but Robbie drives Ben to be the Spider, to do the right thing. She kind of drives Ben to be Ben because it's best for him.
Yeah, exactly. Because she cares about him and wants him to be happy and successful.
Yeah.
She also wants him to pay her. So if he manages to do that, then that's okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm kind of like, you don't have to be nice to Ben. He's not paying you. It's like revealed.
But like, that's the thing. There is loyalty and love there. Like, she probably could have left at any time, like you were mentioning earlier, Josh.
She does try to leave, like in the second episode or something. Yeah. Until Kat pays them for the first time.
But the fact that she stayed as long as she did shows like a loyalty and a history between those characters. And I like how good she is with people. Like when you mentioned when she like gets Tombstone to open up and they're all like playing cards. I think that's a really good scene. And I like the subplot of her like just getting this random kid that keeps popping up to like do his homework and like speak properly. This kid that keeps like following Ben around. And I'm like, where are your parents?
It's the Great Depression. I think they're in a Hooverville or dead.
Yeah.
There's
Yeesh, yeah.
They might have starved to death. Maybe he ate them. Maybe
Oh god.
Ben ate them in one of
Yeah,
his
is
Spider
that like the
moments.
headcanon you have? Like the subplot of like
I'm
Ben
making it
eating
now.
someone's parents, and then like this kid just keeps following him around, and he acts super annoyed even though he was the one to eat his parents.
Maybe. It's like the classic the thing you used to do with like when you had like in the 20s and 30s, you would go like, "Hey Newsy, here's like 3 cents. Go spy on this lady for me."
And while you do that, I'm gonna eat your parents.
I was gonna say also Tombstone does have the best suit. Once he gets starts working for Silvermane, he does have the best suit of all of them. I
He
just
looks
have to
really
have
nice, yeah.
yeah, like he was like he went from Hooverville C's to Silvermane A's.
And that's the thing too. He even talks about why he's working for Silvermane. He's like, "Hey, I'm getting a bed and a hot meal." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "And a nice suit." So, I kind of don't blame you. Times are tough.
So you agree with me? Silvermane's a kind of a decent boss.
I mean, times are tough. You do what you got to do to survive. Not a good person, but
Yeah.
probably a decent boss.
There's this weird B plot of Silvermane and the mayor have a feud. And the mayor
Hmm.
is kind of based off like LaGuardia, and that like he looks like LaGuardia. He's like
Yeah.
trying to clean up the city. He's trying to work with the Spider to stop Silvermane, and in the end, he wins re-election.
Yeah, and I kind of like how between the mayor and Silvermane, they kind of like are like doing this tug of war with the Spider and with Ben Riley, like trying to get them like on their side and like manipulate them for their purposes. Even the mayor is trying to like shake hands with the Spider in public and act like he's working with him when he takes down Megawatt earlier on.
Yeah,
They're both just trying to use him for their own gain.
He goes like, "The Spider and I are gonna work together to clean up these streets." And Spider-Man goes, "No, we're not."
Yeah. It's kind of like at the end of like Oh Brother Where Art Thou, when like the two political candidates are like using the Soggy Bottom Boys. One of them's trying to like crucify them for, oh, they're not white and they interrupted a KKK rally, and he gets booed off the stage because everyone loves the Soggy Bottom Boys, and the other guy just uses them to his advantage and is like, these boys are going to be in my brain trust, I love them, and everyone's like, yeah. He's just like using, like, it's the same thing. They're like, we're going to use the Spider for our own advantages. Silvermane to do my dirty work, and then the mayor to be like, this is how I get reelected.
Yeah. The other thing is funny that the Silvermane knows Ben and wants to use Ben. And he meets Ben multiple times. He goes, "I like you, Ben. You'll do well on my payroll. I treat my workers well, good, well, nice." And he just never connects that, like, Spider-Man is Ben Riley.
It takes him so long.
But it's funny because, like, they meet multiple times. Ben literally goes, like, Spider-Man as Spider-Man goes, "I'm going to kill you." And then Silvermane, the next thing goes, like, "Ben, your friend, the Spider, has tried to kill me."
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I guess he's a busy man.
Yeah, he's clearly too distracted to tell that these are literally the same guy.
Yeah.
The last character I think I want to talk about is Megawatt, just because I think it's really funny. He's just the one irredeemable one out of all the superpowered villains.
He's not that irredeemable. He reads Shakespeare.
He's like the only one who ends up just getting fucking murdered at the end, because the other two, Sandman and Tombstone, get cured, and then the Spider just literally like throws Megawatt in front of a moving train, just straight up murdered.
He does kill Freckles.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
Freckles
he had to
is
go.
the son of the doctor who was aging, and she has to de-age him with Spider-Man's blood.
Yeah, so like there wasn't really going to be a way back for him. He was just a straight up like megalomaniacal, like mustache twirling villain, mainly because of also how theatrical he was. He's quoting Shakespeare and like pieces of literature, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's just such a cliched villain.
He's a well-read villain who wants to be an actor.
Yeah, I mean, aren't we all at the end of the day, depending on your point of view?
Yeah. Well, not me.
Oh, of course not you.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
I live in LA. I would never want to be an actor.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard. When you live in LA, like, it kind of seems like it's hard to get out of those allegations,
Okay, I grew up in LA. It's different if you grew up in LA, if you're not a transplant.
Likely story.
Uh-huh.
Well, what were your favorite moments from this show, Josh?
Trying to think. Why don't you go first? I did not think of a favorite moment. So.
All right. Well, I kind of cheated because I have them in the script here.
I know.
The two that I have that are like my highlights. The first is when near the end, when like Ben gets like shit faced at the bar. He gets
Oh
like
yeah.
super drunk, and a bunch of guys are like talking shit about the spider, and so he like loses it in that like Nick Cage moment of being like, "Don't you think he's just a regular guy who's just doing his best?" And they all laugh. He leaves. He puts the spider outfit on, or just the mask. Really, he just has the same outfit but just the mask. He gets back in there, and he like beats the crap out of these guys for no reason other than they were talking shit. And it was so funny. He like drunkenly beats these guys up. I think that was so funny. And my other highlight was when Robbie dresses up as the spider near the end to try and trick the bad guys, which is just very classic Alfred wearing the bat suit to stand in for Batman kind of moment that I thought was hilarious. And that conversation that he has with Ben in front of everyone, where Ben's clearly trying to get him to like not screw anything up, and it's just so funny.
My favorite scene, now that I had time to think, was the episode like in the middle of the show, 4 or 5, 3. You said 3. It's a long scene where Ben Reilly as Spider-Man sneaks into Silverman's office, finds out the bills are marked, takes some, and then takes the bills from himself. And when Winslow takes them back because they're all meeting Silvermane, and Silvermane sees that they're bills from his own house, he shoots Winslow instead.
Yeah. He like totally sets this guy up to take the fall.
Because Winslow is like the dangerous psychopath working, until Megawatt, working for Silvermane. And it's just such a smart move of like, you outplayed him, but also such a unique noir move. Because normal Peter Parker would not let Winslow get murked like this.
Yeah, Ben Reilly's different. Spider-Noir is just like, I'll set this guy up to get shot. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll let him take the fall.
Yeah, he even like takes a grave. Well, I think the grave was already there. And the other one I'll say is like the funny swing where the mayor goes, "We're gonna clean up the city, me and the spider." And the spider goes, "No, we're not. I didn't agree to this." And they just throw his hands in the air.
He's just like, I don't even know who you are.
Isn't that kind of reveal like the mayor? Like everyone thought the mayor was having an affair with Cat for a bit, and that plot point doesn't really. It was. I mean, it was like they were like it's not. He's trying to use her to get to the Silvermane, but like it was like a weird. It's like one of those weird noir tropes of like you go on a weird duck hunt.
Yeah, or a wild goose chase.
Yeah, sorry.
That's the saying.
You're the wild goose chase.
A weird duck hunt.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think the whole thing was that Kat was really the one that was the mole or the informant for the mayor ratting out Silvermane. She was the rat the whole time. And then Ben just set up Winston, the other guy, to take the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts on this series, Josh?
Would you want to watch a season 2?
I would love a season 2 of this show.
Yeah.
The ending was also a killer. Like, ending on like an Amy Winehouse song was just chef's kiss. And like setting it up with both Ben and Janet's name on the door. Ben's kind of back into the swing of things. Robbie's back at the Daily Bugle. I'm like, can we get a season 2? I would love one. If Nick Cage is up for it, if all the creatives are up for it, yeah, let's do it.
Nick Cage is up for anything to do with superheroes.
Yeah, so absolutely. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I want to see a season 2. I feel season 1 was like you said, more of a noir story. Nick Cage loves superhero stuff. We don't get to see him as the Spider a lot. A few glimpses there, more so in the last episode. But it would be nice to just have him be Spider-Man, which he loves doing. He's wanted to be Spider-Man for so long, and we don't really give him that chance.
So you just want more of him in the Spider outfit?
I want him to. I feel Nick Cage is a genuinely great actor who actually likes doing superhero work for the sake of doing superhero stuff.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the opportunity to be much of a superhero in this show. It was like you said, noir show with a superhero twist. Yeah. And to have it be like the other way around, I feel we get to see Nick Cage playing a superhero properly for once.
Well, if we get a season 2, that would be cool to see more of the spider elements to it and more of the superhero aspects, maybe. Yeah. Dial it up a little on the superhero stuff.
Maybe it'll finally be connected to Spider-Verse, which it may or may not be, because we're approaching the 40s and World War II now. Also, we forgot to mention this big thing. It's in the script, but we forgot to mention it. This is a show you can watch in black or white or color.
Yes, and anyone who watches it in color is an idiot.
I watched like 2 episodes in color. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you watch it in black and white? I remember I watched the trailer when it came out, and I watched it in black and white, and I saw like parts of the trailer in color, and I was like, no way, I'm not even going to watch the trailer in color. because it looks way better in black and white.
Nick Cage is a little goofy as Spider-Man Noir. The costume looks ridiculous in color. It just looks like it's goofy. It's like no one would be afraid of this.
Yeah, I'm like, I think it would work much better in black and white, especially just because it is just a standard black outfit anyways.
Yeah.
Like, why do you need color for this? It's a noir show. Put it in black and white, you cowards.
Yeah. I mean, it is in black and white.
It's nice that you get the option, but I don't want to do it. I'm calling out my dad here also because my parents watched it and my dad wanted to watch it in color.
No!
I heard about this today when I was on the phone with my mom.
No!
It's awful, yeah.
Is that why you're so passionate about it on the script?
I actually was very passionate about it beforehand, and then I'm even more passionate about it now that I've heard that my own family has betrayed me. So, but yes, that's about it for this episode on Spider-Noir. Fun show. Check it out. Read the original Spider-Man Noir comics, please. I would recommend to give those a go. Find them at your local comic book store or on Marvel Unlimited.
Your local comic book store definitely will have some Spider-Man Noir. It's a popular comic.
Yeah, it'll at least have the back issues, if not a collected edition.
And Eyes Without a Face, the original Spider-Man Noir comics are great. Eyes Without a Face just takes it to another level. It's like Spider-Man 2 or Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, just a sequel that builds on the predecessor.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, I can't wait. I still have yet to read Eyes Without a Face, so I'll read that.
But... It's such a great story, and then you gotta move on to X-Men Noir.
Yes, I do for sure. I've just read the original Spider-Man Noir miniseries, and I love that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, until next time, Josh, where can our listeners get in contact with us if they want to email us about our show, the comics we read, comics in general, or pretty much anything else?
It is ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com. That's comics, plural, podcast, singular, ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com.
That is right. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at Ultimate Comics Podcast. And you can listen to this show full audio on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, next time we're going to go to the Ultimates 2. Getting back to that with the returning friend of the pod, Annika Falconer. Is going to be joining us, so it's going to be very fun.
Well, I have not read it yet, so...
Ultimates 2, we read the first 6 issues. I think we'll do a few at a time, so maybe like we still have 7 through 13 to go through, so maybe we'll start with like 7 through 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, until next time, take care everyone, and make mine Ultimate Comics. Bye-bye.